Hello, my lovely students, and welcome to week 5 of virtual school. We're going to be going over chapter 4, lesson 1 today. I want to start by sharing my screen and sharing my objectives and whatnot for this lesson. Okay, so we have chapter 4, lesson 1. And we're going to be talking about energy producers and consumers. So this is week 5, which is April 27th through May 2nd. So all of your work is due by May 2nd. Again, I want to remind you guys, office hours for me are from 11:30 to 12. From 11 to 12:30. And so every day from 11 to 12:30, I am on Zoom for any of your questions. If you need clarification, if you want to talk about something, maybe you learned something new you want to share with us, please come on to our office hours and please share. All right, so chapter 4, lesson 1, energy producers and consumers. Statement of inquiry is going to be as follows, which will continue to be the same throughout this entire unit, or unit 9 for ecology. So sustainability and balance of different ecosystems and environments are disturbed and changed by the interfering of humans. And so we're going to look at these food webs, what consumers are, how is the chain of energy released and then created and whatnot, so that and then how do humans then play a role into this change, and how are we interfering with producers and consumers? All right, so standards. We're going to go over analyzing the movement of matter and energy through the different biogeochemical cycles. So your photosynthesis, chemosynthesis, carbon cycles, nitrogen fixation, those kind of things. That's what we're going to be talking about, including the water cycle and the carbon cycle. Right? We're going to be doing use of food web to identify and distinguish producers, consumers, and decomposers, explain the pathway of energy transfer through the trophic levels, and the reduction of available energy at successive trophic levels. So we're going to be talking about succession. And then we're going to recognize the consequences of the losses of biodiversity due to catastrophic events, climate change, human activity, and the introduction of invasive and non-native species. So ultimately, how we harm these cycles is then going to represent how we are harming our ecosystems. And that is our statement of inquiry. All right, so assignments for week 5. You're going to go ahead and read the lesson off of Pearson if you need to. Not necessarily something that you have to do, but if you wanted to and you wanted to learn more information, you can do that. You can go through my PowerPoint. So I will always provide you the PowerPoint, this exact same PowerPoint that I'm doing the video off of, for you to go back to, read it on your own, do whatever you want with the PowerPoint itself. And then you can also watch the instructional videos. So these instructional videos that I make for you are summarizing, and they have more content because the PowerPoint is just the bones of the presentation. And then I go into some examples and we talk more about it, and it feels like we're still in class because we're having a discussion. So you can watch the videos as well. The videos are now going to be put onto YouTube. So if you follow the channel, you'll get reminded every time I upload a video. Sometimes they're not going to be directly available on Canvas, although there will be always a link that will take you to the video from YouTube. All right, so you're going to complete the quiz for lesson 1 of this chapter. Now, we're going to continue doing little quizzes, mini quizzes, 10-question quizzes at the end of each one of these lessons. However, a lot of these are going to be counted as classwork grades. So it's basically that I know that you went through the PowerPoint, you understood it, you can take the quiz, and you were able to pass the quiz. That means that you get that grade as your classwork grade. Now I want to go over some of the new information regarding grades in your grade book. Um, the classwork is now worth 50% of your quarter 4 grade. Now, it doesn't change for any of the other quarters, but for quarter 4, all of your classwork is worth 50%. Your quizzes are worth 25% and your projects are worth 25%. So you are going to have a total of 2 quizzes and 2 projects by the end of this quarter, and the rest will be classworks. So you will have 2 assignments every single week from me, from all of your teachers that will be graded. And I will always let you know which ones are going to be graded as classwork and which one will be graded as a quiz. So in this instance, although we are calling it a quiz, because you're answering these questions as if it were a quiz grade, because it would be easier for you to pick the multiple choice or fill in the blank or whatnot, as opposed to writing out a full sentence. Those mini quizzes at the end of the lesson will be counted as a classwork. So I will let you know. This quiz for week 5 is a classwork grade, and your completed assignment, which is titled under assignments, it'll be titled Reading Guide Chapter 4.1. That will also be counted as a classwork grade. This lesson is very short, and so a lot of the stuff is going to be repeated throughout. You always have 2 graded assignments, and this week they will both count as your classwork grade. All right, so before we start, I want you guys to think of these questions. Think about these questions. What do they mean to you? What do you know from them, from previous experiences, classes, lessons? And then keep them in mind throughout the whole PowerPoint presentation. So what are primary producers? How do consumers obtain energy and nutrients? We talked about primary producers when we talked about autotrophs and heterotrophs, when we talked about classification. So what are primary producers? And then how do consumers obtain their energy and nutrients? We talked about consumers. So consumers are heterotrophs. How do they obtain their energy and nutrients? And then as we discuss this entire lesson, I want you guys to compare and contrast how producers and consumers are similar and different. So what makes a producer a producer? What makes a consumer a consumer? And then what are their similarities and what are their differences? All right, so that's all for video 1. I will go ahead and start on the next slide for video 2, and we'll have more conversation about autotrophs, consumers, and where they receive their energy. Bye, see you on video 2.